I had worked tirelessly to get that job. After my father's death, my mother stitched clothes day and night to keep food on the table, and I promised myself that one day I would lift us out of that struggle. When I got hired by a reputed company, it felt like a dream finally coming true. Everyone said the boss, Mr. Ethan Carter, was strict but professional. I didn't care about his reputation. I was ready to give everything I had. The first few weeks went smoothly. I worked in the HR department, stayed late to finish reports, and even helped other teams when they needed it. My manager praised my dedication, and within a month, I earned a small promotion. That's when he noticed me. Mr. Carter was tall, about 40, with sharp features, a calm but commanding voice, and eyes that seemed to read too much. He dressed in tailored suits and carried himself like a man who was used to being obeyed. When he began asking me to handle small tasks, bringing reports to his cabin, preparing schedules, managing presentations, I felt proud. It meant he trusted me. But sometimes his gaze lingered a little too long, his smile curved in a way that made me uncomfortable. I brushed it off, telling myself I was overthinking. I wasn't. One Thursday evening, around 7, he called me into his cabin. The office was nearly empty by then. "Emma," he said, looking up from a stack of papers, "I need your help. We have an urgent presentation tomorrow. Stay tonight and finish it." I nodded quickly, hiding my nerves. "Yes, sir." He smirked slightly and said, "Good girl." Something about that word made me uneasy, but I forced a polite smile and walked out. I stayed late, working alone in the quiet office. The only sounds were the hum of the AC and the distant ticking of the clock. Outside, the city was dark. The security guard was downstairs, probably half asleep. By 1 in the morning, I was still sitting at the round table near the meeting room, organizing files and fixing the slides. That's when I heard the door creak. My heart jumped. I turned around. It was him. Mr. Carter. He was still in his suit, but the tie was gone, the top buttons of his shirt open, sleeves rolled up. His expression was different, loose, strange, maybe drunk. He walked in slowly and sat across from me. "You're still working?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I replied, quickly closing my laptop. He leaned forward slightly, his voice lower than usual. "You work hard, Emma. I like that in a girl." I gave a nervous smile. "I'm just doing my job." Suddenly, he stood up and came behind me. My body stiffened. Then I felt his hand on my shoulder. "Relax," he whispered. The word made my skin crawl. I stood up immediately, trying to move away. "I should finish this and go," I said quietly. But before I could take another step, his hand gripped my arm. "Don't act like you don't know," he murmured close to my ear. "You come here every day, staying late, looking so pretty, all for me." My heart pounded violently. "No, sir. Please let me go," I said, trembling. But he pulled me harder and pushed me against the table. I stumbled, the edge hitting my hip, pain shooting through me. His hand caught my face, forcing me to look at him. "You're mine tonight," he said coldly, his breath hot against my skin. Before I could react, he yanked at my shirt, the buttons snapping, scattering across the floor. I screamed and cried, begging him to stop. My voice echoed through the empty office, but no one came. His hand covered my mouth as I struggled, scratching, kicking, pushing with all my strength. "Please stop," I sobbed. "Please don't do this." He didn't listen. Tears blurred my vision, my body shaking as fear and disbelief consumed me. And then, suddenly, his phone rang loud and sharp, breaking the suffocating silence. He froze, pulled out his phone, and stepped aside to answer. "I told you not to call now," he snapped. "I'm in the middle of something." Something. That's what I was to him, not a person, just something. He turned away, pacing toward the door, his voice fading as he left the room. I stayed on the floor, shaking uncontrollably, clutching what was left of my shirt closed, my body aching, my mind blank. After a few minutes, when I realized he wasn't coming back, I forced myself to stand. My reflection in the glass door didn't look like me. My hair was a mess, my lipstick smeared, my eyes swollen from crying. I buttoned what I could, grabbed my bag, and ran to the restroom. Locking the door, I slid down against it and broke down completely. I cried until I couldn't breathe. I stayed there all night, sitting on the cold floor, too terrified to move. When morning came and the cleaning lady knocked at 7, I washed my face, straightened my clothes, and walked out quietly. My hands were still trembling when I sat at my desk. A few minutes later, he arrived. Fresh suit, polished shoes, calm face. Like nothing had happened. He glanced at me once and said, coldly, "Go home. You look sick." I didn't answer. I couldn't. He walked away as if the night before had never existed. 2 hours later, my phone rang, his name flashing on the screen. I didn't answer. A minute later, his secretary appeared. "Sir wants to meet you downstairs," she said. My heart sank. I didn't want to go, but fear pulled me along. When I reached the gate, he was waiting in his black car. He opened the door and said, "Get in." I shook my head, but his tone changed, calm, almost rehearsed. "I'm taking you to the hospital. You fainted last night." I stared at him, my voice barely a whisper. You did that to me." He looked away and said, "Just get in." I don't know why I did. Maybe I was too broken to fight. Maybe a small, desperate part of me still wanted to believe he felt guilt. At the hospital, he paid for the tests, the medicine, everything. The doctor said I had bruises and needed rest. I told my mother I slipped on the stairs. She didn't believe me. She cupped my face and whispered, "Your eyes say something else, Emma." But I stayed silent. I couldn't bring myself to speak. 4 days, I didn't eat or leave my room. I didn't return to the office. He never called again. 2 weeks later, I went back to the HR department, typed my resignation letter, and handed it over. When they asked for a reason, I said only one word: safety. But I didn't stop there. I found my courage again, slowly, painfully. I reached out to a women's helpline, told them everything. I shared my story anonymously on an online platform, my name hidden but my voice clear. And that's when I realized it wasn't my shame to carry. It was his crime. I had been silent because I was scared, because I thought speaking up would make me weak. But silence only protected him, not me. Now, I speak because I know I'm not alone. To anyone who's ever been touched without permission, hurt by someone in power, or made to feel small, it's not your fault. It never was. No matter how broken you feel, no matter how scared you are, your voice is your strength. Speak. Fight. Heal. Don't wait for someone else to save you, save yourself. You are stronger than you think.